Yeah, so today we're going to talk about art. I know I've seen your art over the years, and you're quite a good artist, quite accomplished. And but we're particularly going to talk today about street arts, and there seems to be a kind of a movement within Dublin and Ireland and right across the world of street art. Everything from like murals on the wall to you'll see the little power boxes, the ESB power boxes, and the telephone network boxes. They're putting little people are doing miniature murals. So what's your views on art and street art?
Well, I saw the various art that you sent, and the street art, and I think there's even some on a building. Now, when I was in Spain, living there for some months, we had a place. There was some of them might think it was art, but it was graffiti on walls, and it was. Actually quite ugly, and never kind of I took a dislike to it. And now the street art that they were talking about, and the various ones, and including in this country and in Britain, quite frankly, I don't like it.
Hmm.
I think it defaces these buildings. I think they're far better when they're in their natural state. That would be my opinion. In their natural state, I find them kind of ugly and intimidating, quite frankly. If I'm walking down, for example, you look at Merrion Square, Georgian Dublin, and Fitzwilliam Square and Fitzwilliam Street, and that type of thing, with the Georgian buildings, and have a certain beauty attached to them, and they're a very expensive place to live or even have an office in.
Hmm.
And they kind of improved Dublin. Merrion Square, then the park used to be closed. It was actually owned by the Dublin Diocese, the Archbishop of Dublin and Archbishop Ryan were supposed to build a cathedral there. And Archbishop Ryan donated the Merrion Square Park to the nation so the people now can use it. And I've been in through it many a time. And because I had an accountant that did some of my work in Herbert Street. And then you have the canal there too, which is lovely to sort of sit on. That's where Patrick Kavanagh, the famous writer and commentator and poet, lived. He was a very eccentric individual. I remember coming across him because when I was doing working for a beer company, Bass, we used to check the where they had where they had the bass and clean the tubes. And there was two in Searsons and another one, Walkers or something like that, I think it was called. And that's where your man used to drink. And when you'd be behind the counter, would he let you have it? I remember that. I said, I think I said to him, Frankie, old devil, I said, it's a wonder when you're drinking that whiskey, you've done not whistling. Instead of that, I said, you're giving out yards. Well, he was like that, you see.
Giving out
But
yards
I
is
had
the
that
phrase.
experience with Mr. Patrick Kavanagh. I mentioned art. You were talking about art. Now, quite frankly, I find street art disgusting.
Oh, wow.
This is the sort of art I like, and I'll just show you a picture. There's that
Well,
Caravaggio, a copy of
you
and I
see,
did
this
that.
is the
Can you see
thing.
it?
We can see it
Uh,
perfectly
it's
there.
it's it's the betrayal by Judas uh, in the Garden of Gethsemane with the trader's kiss, and there's a fella here shouting, "It's the Apostle John," because of
Just
the what
show us the
happened.
fella, show us the fella shouting there because we can't see him. Okay.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
oh,
just
brilliant
see
there.
him.
Yes, I can see it now. Yeah, yeah, that's great.
Yeah, so
Okay.
that was I did a copy of that, and then I have another one here. I'll just show you. And this is what I like. Street art just would actually give me the sick. I'd avoid it
Okay.
like the plague. There's the the road to Emmaus,
Oh, very
and
nice.
Jesus is there, and they recognize Jesus. They invited him on the road. A stranger joined them, and he invited them. They invited him. So it's getting late. Come on in for something to eat and stay the night, and they continued his journey in the morning because he had joined them. And then at the breaking of the bread, they recognise Jesus. Now, I just thought I'd show them that's what I like. Uh, Street art is generally of a disturbing nature, I think. They look like as if they're suffering from some kind of, what would they
Illness.
call it, neurosis.
Neurosis. Okay.
It's only looking yokes as I ever saw. And then there was a fella called Wanksy or Banksy, Banksy, I
Banksy,
think.
yeah, in the UK,
Was saying,
yes. Banksy's
and
what I
he,
like about his art, it can sometimes be kind of almost interactive. He has a nice kind of he
yeah,
puts a
but
humorous
he was
slant to
anti
it.
war. He was anti this, that, and the other. Whatever you were in, whatever you thought that would be kind of patriotic, he had something against it. So he would me my way of thinking in negative,
Okay.
and I like the positive, and I love paintings in the National Gallery in Dublin. There's such lovely paintings. Van Gogh. When I was in France, we visited, we stayed in a place called St. Lula Foray. But it was that hot that particular summer. We were there in the summer, exchanged houses. And so I looked at to see where I could see a river. And there was a river in a place called Ovir sur Wasi. That's the way it's pronounced. And I drove the car because I had the use of a car there, and I gave the fella that come over to our place the use of my car. And he went to Connemara and all in it.
Hmm.
To see it because that's what they go for. The tourists goes to Connemara and
They do.
Kerry.
They do.
That marvelous scenery down there, and Lakes of Killarney and all the rest of it, made famous by John McCormack, by the way. And it was we're talking about paintings, and but in the National Gallery they have oh yeah, Van Gogh I was talking about in a Virtue while he was he. That's where he lived for 70 days and painted paintings for 70 days. Beautiful, and he was died of injuries. They said self-inflicted, but the story is that there was a father and a son shooting pheasants or whatever they were shooting, and he accidentally shot him,
Oh well.
and he spent over a bistro and 2 days, and he died. He's buried with his brother Theo that used to support him. He worked in the bank business, and then he lost his job in the bank. And so poor old Van Gogh wasn't able to survive because he only sold one painting, and that was to Dr. Gachet, a doctor that was in the that was looking after them in Overseer was he, and it was just payment. So that was really, but when he died, his paintings fetched millions. But anyways, he's buried with his brother Theo, and there's a branch between the two of them. It's a very moving grave, quite frankly,
You've
and
seen
well
it.
worth a visit. Yeah, this was an Overseer was he, and it was the 100th anniversary of his death. So there was great exhibitions. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mentioned that as paintings. I absolutely detest street stuff,
Okay. So
no
I'm
matter
gonna
what it is.
okay, well, I think might change your mind a little bit if I was to say, imagine if somebody done some street art of the Virgin Mary. Now, how do
Well,
you
I would
think?
like that on the Sacred Heart, but I don't think there's too much of that. They've all sort of weird looking stuff that'll put the frights in you, especially if you're at night time.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
think you're
yeah.
seeing ghosts,
Okay,
you
so
know.
I'll give you an example. Down in Cabra Park in Phibsborough in Dublin 7. Okay, so what
Yeah.
they've done is they've turned all the back laneways there are now kind of murals. Okay, some of them are very good, some of them are not. And so what's happened is you get these kind of would be amateur artists, then they take it further out into the main street and they make a mess. Okay. So I'm not one for regulating creativity or regulating the arts by law, but I do think that um, if people are doing murals, they should be licensed to a standard. Okay, so that and that they should be like if they're going to put up a mural in say Merrion Square, it has to fit in with Merrion Square.
Oh, Jibbers, I keep out of there,
I
Jibbers.
know
You're
I'm
going to
not,
get
I'm
trouble.
just giving you an example, okay? And if you put it down the Docklands, it would have to fit in with the Docklands. So I think what it needs a little bit of licensing probably that the first of all that the artist is can paint, okay? Is that a standard that
Mhm.
he can put something on a public display that's quite professional looking and inspiring looking, you know?
Well, perhaps some people find it, but I just don't. And the less I see of it, the better. Thanks be to God, I'm not living in Dublin because I'd get pain in my head. I'd have to sort of go this way, that way to avoid wherever they were. Nothing whatsoever that they do in that is absolutely of no interest to John Malone. Full stop. And even if the no, um, keep wherever they are and just leave some streets and places alone that we can go about. Now, if you're going in the dark, we say the train would say from Connolly or Pierce in Pierce Street. You know, they're calling it, they have different names than I remember them.
Hmm.
It was Amiens Street and Western Road when I knew them, but whatever they call them, this anyway. If you're going out to Bray, you go past places where there's this graffiti, and it's as ugly as you like. If you happen to sit on the wrong side, this is what you see.
Well, you see,
It's like
the thing about railway
I think
art,
you see all that in hell if you were in hell, that kind of stuff. I
the
absolutely
thing,
find it awful.
okay,
There's nothing whatever I like about it.
the thing I what I think about railway art is that's where they do their apprenticeship far away down the tracks, and they make a complete mess there, and it's hidden away, luckily, until you get on a train. Okay, so the apprentices start off on the tracks, and then they make their way into the city as the years progress. Okay, but I tell you what,
Yeah, but you have a good a good view of it, Oliver. But there were many one wouldn't. And I'm
yeah,
very open to all sorts of innovations, generally speaking. And there's a few things I'm against. I'm against electric cars, number one,
hmm
and I'm certainly against anything to do with. If I want a painting, I'd like to visit the National Gallery, which I've often visited, and I'd be there for a nice few hours.
hmm
As a matter of fact, I'd love to be. That's what I'd love to visit now, and I'd be in Dublin visiting a cousin that lives in Stillorgan, and I'll be staying overnight in Dublin. And
hmm
if I get a chance, I'll visit the National Gallery. I haven't been in it for a nice few years, and I love looking at the paintings because they've got great original paintings in that gallery donated by well-to-do people. Thank you, dear God.
Yeah. Do you know what? We'll go back to the murals for a second, right? The only murals I don't like, and they're done very professionally, is the murals that you will find in the north of Ireland. They're so strongly political, so negative, so full of hatred. Like
Oh, correct.
you
Yeah.
know these
Yes. Yeah.
murals that say Ulster says no, nationalists out, all these kind of things, or men with you'll see
Yeah,
soldiers with
correct.
guns.
Well, there is a hateful place from the unionist point of view. They're kind of like the most ignorant breed would think I ever came across when I visited that neck of the woods for the
So
first time some years ago. I would hate nothing to do with them. They're so thick that they're
okay,
and they're ignorant.
let's calm it down.
They
Okay,
should respect people, and they
I
don't
know,
respect people.
I know, but the thing
Yeah,
about
and
it
they're
is,
murians
oh,
like
okay,
themselves ugly.
oh, John Malone, please. Anyway, the thing about that art is it's one word describes it. Okay, there's a lot gone on in the north of Ireland with the troubles and the whole lot, and a lot of people have done a lot of work to bring everybody together, and that's great. But the thing about it is, I would describe it as divisive art.
Famous man. Yeah, go ahead. That great man.
Yeah, divisive
Yeah.
art would be the word. Would you describe it like that?
Well, as a fella says, some people probably like it, and the ones that do it hope they will have a good effect. But there's those of us, unfortunately, and I'm just one of them that are not too keen on it. I like to visit and see the paintings,
Hmm.
not on the street, quite frankly. No, I like to be able to go about the street uh, and avoid potholes.
From electric
And
cars.
it's really hard. Oh no, and you won't get me knocking around. I'll tell you them is. I know I don't want to have nightmares. Thank you very much.
You don't, but you wouldn't mind some religious art, some good Catholic. kind of Christian
Well,
art.
that sort of thing, yes, but you won't see that. That's as scarce as hen's teeth. You will not see that anywhere, and if you do, it'll be criticised by all the weirdos.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like when you're driving around, somebody around Navan or Meath, right, okay, puts up signs every now and again that Jesus loves you. Do you ever see them hanging by the trees?
Oh, I do, yeah, but I don't know if it does that. We know that, like, but
That's
it
that's what
it
that's what I would call
it's uh,
that's what I would call hedge art. You
well, it
see it by the
is.
hedgerows, yeah.
I've seen that, and but what I've seen as well in some houses they have a little grotto for our Blessed Mother, our Blessed Lady, and which in some ways is uplifting, I think, at least for me, and that type of thing. And I kind of like that. And in I think we did something about 1954, the Marian year,
That's
with
right.
all the little grottos that's around the country, and they're still there, thank God.
Hmm.
And I like that. And I certainly like all the holy wells and where there's sometimes the little statue of our Blessed Mother and that type of thing. And these are well worth visiting, and I recommend them for any tourist to visit the country to visit all these places
Well,
because they're holy.
I was coming
Yeah.
back from Drogheda yesterday and I passed through Mulhuddard and there's a holy well there and it's very, very well maintained. I thought of yourself as I was passing it because I know you like your holy wells. But
Oh, I do. Mulholland.
Mulhuddard, there's a
Yeah,
holy well
Mulholland
there.
was a quiet place in my time, but now there's a mixture in it that would be difficult to be living beside, put it that
Hmm.
way. But it was a lovely little quiet nook years back when I used to have business in the general area. There was a pub there, and there was as nice of people as you could wish to meet. Used to do a bit of business with them,
Yeah, the thing about it
and
is, look, I
you
mean,
know, but,
the outskirts of Mulhuddard, there's still lots of farmland, it's very nice, some parts of
which
it.
is good. I like to see the farmland,
Hmm.
quite frankly, and I noticed that in Navan as well, because Navan is getting built at an awful rate of knots, and the Navan, the county council has Navan destroyed with roadworks. There's donkey's years.
Hmm.
Even when myself and my late wife, had an apartment in Navan, they were doing something down the bridge where we lived, and we had to go around the world for sports to get into it because you couldn't go in. They were supposed to be widening the bridge, but they didn't widen it that much. They put some place for people to walk on the other side. So so they waste their time and they're doing the same thing in them places and they're putting in roundabouts. That's even worse than the ones that was there before because they're putting concrete on them. And sometimes you have to go up in the concrete to go around.
Hmm.
And so the whole place is, and they're putting in now, and they're taking up the bricks that they put down and putting down wider bricks.
Yeah.
They're going like as if they have money coming out of their ears. They must be getting from the EU or something because the town is upside down. It's a holy threat,
Holy Lord.
and everybody that is living in it is blue in the face complaining about it because their business is affected.
Hmm.
Oh, there's not a part of the town that they're not. Oh, I don't know what they're at. They must have more money than sense. It's all I know.
That's it.
Yeah, just I digress there.
You did, John. And sure, look, we'll catch up again. And thank you very much for doing the videos. And sure, we'll
And thank you
talk
very
soon.
much. And we covered a bit of ground and we digress a little bit, but that's what life is all about. You're not concentrating on the one thing all the time. There's other things that you can have an opinion about. Isn't that right?
That's right. Thank you, John.
Here you go, Oliver. Have a
Bye-bye.
good day.
You too.
Bye.